Hi, it's Veronica with the Crafty Ladder. We are working on the summer set, the summer collection for the Apothecary Cabinet, and we are working on the set that includes all of the drink stirrers. So I went ahead and in the previous session we worked on the Monstera leaves, which are the banner, and I apologize that the color is definitely not coming off as green. They're variations, a variated green. There's some white in there for highlights, and the same thing with the drink stirrers. And I know that it's coming off kind of gray on the screen here, so I apologize for that. I went ahead and since I had those greens on the palette or the plate, I went ahead and painted up the drink stirrer that has the palm tree. So that one is ready to go, waiting for us. And our color inspiration for this collection, the summer collection, is this sign that I painted up. And I love the colors that I used here, from the dark reds to the deep oranges and to the yellows, and then of course the dark navies. So and I'm seeing now, yeah, definitely the shading here that I'm looking at in front of me, it goes from a deep burgundy into a teal blue and then into a sky blue. And I can see on the screen that this teal blue is definitely not, for some reason the greens are not picking up. And this teal is got green in there, so it's the shading is not coming off, or the coloring is not coming off exactly as it appears in front of me. So this is the color inspiration for the set, and I thought we would do the same, follow the same for the drink stirrers. So what I'm thinking here is that we will go with the reds and oranges into the yellow for the beach umbrella drink stirrer, and the sun will go into the oranges and into the yellow, and we've got this one done, which is the green, and the little tropical drink we will go with blue. I was thinking of a dark blue into the lighter blues, kind of like I don't know if you drink or not, but there's a drink called Blue Hurricane, so I'm thinking of that. And the drink stirrers themselves, this part of the stir, the wand, I guess, is I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna go with glitter. So I'll do some Mod Podge and then get some glitter over that. So the color inspiration from the wave here and the sun is what will guide us as we go through painting this up. And I'm going to do a little bit of blending, so I'm going to use, I like to use this palette paper, and I picked this up at Michael's when they have their sales on artist pads, and it tells you here it's a smooth poly-coated surface, and so you can tell when I go onto a sheet that there's a sheen to it. So there's a coating on here, and that protects it so that, or protects your surface so that any moisture doesn't seep through to the other side. And it's a huge sheet, of course. I buy a pad that's kind of big. The measurements, let's see, 12 by 16 inch. So of course I'm not gonna have this out on my table here or desk. It's too big, so I always cut it down. I'm just putting up the package here, and I'm grabbing a pair of scissors, and I just like to fold this up, get a crease in there so that I have a more manageable size. And I could use parchment paper or wax paper, which I like to use as well. But because I am working on, I've got this white foam board. My desk is black. It's got a black leatherette, faux leatherette on it. It's built in, and it was too dark on camera, so I got this white foam board on top. And I don't want it to get wet. So I want to go ahead and use the palette paper to help me with the blending. And you just want to make sure that you use the side that has the coating on it. And because I've cut so many squares off of the sheet, it's going to be very handy for any blending that I need to do, and then you can just throw it in the trash when you're done. And so I can keep my colors separate. All I'm doing is getting these to the correct side, the side with the coating, so that they're all facing the same way. And I have a little carousel, little Lazy Susan, off to the side of me where I keep a lot of my supplies. And we'll keep that there for now. All right. And we're going to start with the beach umbrella. I was thinking that the overlay would be white, and as well as the wand part. That's what I'm calling it, the wand. And then we'll add the glitter at the end. So this part of the beach umbrella, I want it to start from a deep red into a darker orange and then into a yellow. So we're going to go ahead and get, and I said deep red, but really not so much, it's not a deep red. I'm just going to go ahead and go with the apple barrel flag red. And then we're going to go into an orange. And I'm not using orange. I am using this apple barrel King's Gold because it is, in my mind anyway, a deep enough color that it blends. It goes from the orange, it takes up the tones from the orange, and then it'll take us into the yellow. And for the yellow, I'm just using Apple Barrel Yellow Flame. Okay. I'm going to use a wet wipe, to get the color started on the piece. And I'm going to try and dab off. I put too much paint on there. I'm going to try and dab off a lot of it. And I did not base coat. I'm going straight in with the color because I don't mind if the color bleeds into the next shade. And you can see that I've already hit the area, the score line for the overlay. I'm going to use that as the guide. And because the wet wipe has moisture, I'm getting some deep saturation of color at the top, but as I come in, and I'm using less pressure as I swipe up, so that I think you can see the colors lightening up as we go, or you can see more of the wood. The color's not lightening up necessarily, it just looks lighter because I'm not putting as much pressure. And I'm going to go back in with some more of the red along the bottom. I'm going to base coat the wand in white, so it's okay if some of that color comes in. We'll be able to cover it up with the white paint. Alright, now we're going to go into the orange, or what is that color? Golden, King's Gold. And because I'm using the same wet wipe, I was going to use a sponge, but the wet wipe's working pretty well. Some of that red is bleeding into the orange, which is what I wanted. And then lastly, we're going to hit it with that yellow. And I'm using my nail to kind of scrape into that orange so that there's a little bit of blending happening. I'm going to go back in and get some of that orange. Because I lost too much of it. I put in too much yellow on this side. So I want to come back and get some of that orange and get it back in the mix. And I think I need to pick up a little bit of the red. So just be careful not to get too much of that yellow down there so you avoid that mistake that I made. We do want there to be a distinction between the yellow and the orange. We don't want the yellow to come all the way down. And that's Goldie drinking water. They're both in here now, Goldie and Blackie. I think they just had lunch. So they tend to both be thirsty after they have their lunch. Alright, so this is done. I'm liking it. I think that the maybe I need a little bit more yellow there. I think that the overlay will complement it nicely. And I'm kind of getting vibes of like a flower there. Wouldn't that be ooh, and a butterfly, right? Oof, inspiration. Inspiration. Alright, so the overlay will come in there, and I think with the clear it should look nice. Alright, and now we're working with getting some of that orange onto the sun rays here. And I'm going into the well there, and that's good. It's okay. This does have an overlay. So, I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of red there to the tips. Or to the edge, right? Because the rays should be lighter, and when they're coming in from the center of the sun, they should be a little bit darker. I'm going to go ahead and get a new couple of wipes. And go back into that orange. And now instead of swiping, I am just kind of dabbing. And I'm going to go in with the yellow, getting that on the edges. And I'm going to use my finger to get some of that off. That helps to kind of blend it up. Okay, nice. So same idea. kind of work the darker color from the center. Get that orange in there. And then we'll come in with the yellow. Too much yellow. Or too much paint. And so far I haven't even needed to use I'm dabbing on here. I really liked how that was looking as I was getting that on there, the blending, that natural blending that's happening. You don't want to lose it though, as you add paint. Getting some of that yellow off with a new wipe. Quite a bit there. And I think that's going to be great. Looks like a sun. All right. And now for our blue hurricane. To do a little bit of cleanup. Got a bunch of yellow on my fingers, yellow and orange. And for the blue, I am going to start with a darker shade. Well, you know, I think I'm going to go with the Deco Art Americana Satin Navy. And I'm going to work that up into a Deco Art Americana Blue Raspberry. And then we will go with an Apple Barrel Cool Blue. Now, I know it's a very small area here, but we'll see what we can get done, even though it's a small area. I'm going to use the paper over here. I'm doing real good as far as getting the paint on there. Not going overboard with the amount that's coming out. That's great. Excellent. And I think I'm going to risk it with a wipe. I'm going to risk it. And I say that because it's such a small area. I should probably use a detail brush, but we're going to give it a whirl. We're going to give it a whirl. Getting a little bit there. This is actually supposed to be navy, but it's looking a little purple there. Okay. Now we're going into the blue raspberry. You know, I'm not thrilled with that. I think it's really coming off as purple. So I'm going to come over and get the Admiral Blue. If I can find it. Here it is. Apple Barrel Admiral Blue. We really want that dark blue to be at the bottom, going in and growing into the lighter shades of blue. So that was Admiral Blue. Now we're going into the blue raspberry again. It's really pretty. And now we're going to go in with the cool blue. And the straw, we will go ahead and do white with the glitter. And at the top, we need to go with white. It's really subtle, but it's there. You can see it, at least in front of me. I know on camera you might not be able to see it that well, but you can see the difference between these two colors, the blue raspberry and the cool blue. And I've got the white on there, but I'm kind of trying to blend in that cool blue into that white. It looks like a ocean in there, in a good way. So yeah, those blue hurricane drinks are really pretty. Working up into a clear, actually, at the top, but we're going with white here. Alright, so the rest of the process is going to require, you know what I just did? I did all of that work. I forgot that this had an overlay. Well, I guess it was I guess it was good practice, right? So we're gonna have to repeat this. Why didn't y'all tell me? Were you screaming at me? Were you telling me? Oh my goodness, you let me do all of that. Alright, so it was good practice. So coming back in with the blue. Good thing is it's a pretty quick process. Coming back in with the dark blue, the Admiral Blue. Then we are coming in with the blue raspberry. And I have not had a blue hurricane before. So I don't know what it tastes like. Okay, and now I am going to take some of that off. That was Blackie whining. I don't know why, but he probably wants attention. And gonna get some of that white here at the top. Okay. Now it's looking like it's a little too perfect. It's looking a little like the rim is covered with maybe sugar or something. All I did was take the wipe and I'm going in kind of vertically, tapping in there to blend some of that white down into the cool blue. And I think I need to come back in. I took too much of the white off. Come back in and get some of that beautiful bright titanium white back in there. There we go. And I'm actually happier with this version. They both are cute, but there we go. Oh, looks good. Good enough to drink. All right, so now we just need to go ahead and come in with the white, the titanium white, and do some good coverage of each one of the wands for the stirs. And we definitely need a little bit more white. So I think that I was able to get things done with just the plate and not have to necessarily use the palette paper. But what I was thinking was I was going to have to use a sponge, but since I used the wipe, I was able to just get there and get the paint. But normally I would use, for a larger piece, I think, where I'm doing blending, I would use a sponge, and I like to use the palette paper to give me the space that I need to do the blending, because the plate is just not big enough for that. Alright, so coming in with the white, I'm going to get all of the wands done. I'm going to clean up the edge. Went overboard with that one. And don't forget, it's missing the little overlay. We need to get on that too. I have to pause to take a call, so you're going to see that I went ahead and got a new plate out for the white paint. Okay, I had to pause to take a call, and then when I came back in, I had an error with the recording, so I kind of had to stop and start again. So what I've done is I went ahead and changed out the plate so that I could get some fresh white paint on there. I'm going to go ahead and get all of these stirs, the stems painted up, and for that I'm going to use a block, and all I do is run my tape runner, my mega runner, across the block to get some double stick tape on there. And I'm going to paint all of the stems white, so I want to kind of place them on there to make this easy to do, and it gives me some support since it's on the block. And I'm just pressing down to make contact with the tape. I usually like to butt things up so that we don't get paint on the sides or the edges whenever possible. And that's done. I need the little stem on the glass. And I think that's it. So we just need to come in with the wipey. Get some white paint. This is titanium white. And we're going to make quick work. I tried to get some of that off because I don't want, and I'm just coming in and dabbing, I do not want to have the issue with getting paint on the edges. It still happens. I could cut up a tiny sponge, but we're just going to roll with it. can see it goes really fast. I am going to give it a second coat, even though I don't think I really need to, because I am going to come in and glitter this up. But I'm using a clear glitter. I think that's what it's called. It's not really clear. I mean, it has some like iridescence, but white. So getting this little base of white is going to help it along. It's just going to make sure that the glitter blends in nicely. I don't know if you can hear Goldie, but she's on my side somewhere, and it's warm in here, so she's panting. And she just came in from outside, so it's hot out there. I'm in South Texas, so by now, this time of day, we already hit, I'm sure, the 98, maybe even the 100 mark. It's supposed to be about 103 today, around 4 o'clock, so that's been typical around here lately during the summer. Alright, so it's the time that we want to have definitely some coverage and a nice cool drink around. I think that's good for these, and we just need to go ahead and give them a moment to dry. And now I'm thinking, should I go ahead and glue the overlay first, or should I add the glitter first? And I guess I'll go ahead and glue them on first. So yeah, this little technique is a time saver. A huge time saver. Alright, we're going to go ahead and go with gluing on first. And I've got some wax paper here. My water well was wet, so I went ahead and placed wax paper underneath. And I'm using this, I just want a little scrap for the glue. I'm not going to use much of it, so we only need a little bit. And I could just put it on the plate, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to use the paper so I can just get rid of this. And that's way too much. I don't know what I was thinking. But I always keep it upside down. And this is Tide Bond Quick and Thick. Dries clear and gives you time to move pieces around. It's not instant. It's not an instant cure or a very quick cure like a CA glue, a super glue would be. So that's great. Alright. So we've got the glue. We're going to go ahead and let me just start with the Monstera leaf. Stir. Yeah, and so I was saying, I don't know what the deal is with the green. At least it's picking up some of the white on that. For some reason the green is coming off as a gray on the screen. I'm not seeing vibrancy. I'm not seeing the vibrancy that I'm actually seeing here in real life, in the room. I forgot to paint the little stir. That means the little straw. So we'll get a little bit of white paint on them just in there and on there just a bit. And we need. That's one thing, one word of caution about the glue. Since it gives you a little bit of extra time to glue up, if you make a move, it'll slide on you, so you just want to keep an eye on that. They look cute. So for this Apothecary Cabinet collection, the summer collection, I was thinking of just really memories of summer vacations. And I'll probably do a beach theme at some point. But for this one, I wanted to focus on not necessarily the beach, but items that you might use during the summer, even if you don't go to the beach. I think this one belongs to no, I guess it's this one. It's closest to that one anyway. It was a little bit too big for the sun wand. Alright, and we'll get this one going. It's quite possible that that round is not specifically for the beach umbrella. It doesn't match. It's a little bit bigger, just a little bit, but it is just a little bigger. And it's possible that it's from another collection. It's a circle from another collection. I cut several at the same time, and so it's possible as I was assembling, getting the pieces together, that I picked up one thinking it belonged to the beach umbrella, and it doesn't. Anyway, back to the theme. So I was thinking of items that you cherish, you know, maybe souvenirs that you'd keep from a vacation, or just everyday items that you'd use during summer, maybe if you don't even go to the beach. We actually live about, it's less than an hour to the beach, which would be South Padre Island. I am in deep South Texas, and we don't go very often. If we go once a year, the dogs love it. We have some good memories of taking the dogs over to the beach, but we've just never been big on going. We like it, we enjoy it, but it can be exhausting, and we always try and find a hotel that is close to, that's on the ocean side, because since it's I'm trying to get this right on the score line. The way that the island is, you can find beaches on both sides, and there's did I say beaches on both sides? You can find hotels on both sides of the island, And we try and get a hotel that's on the surf side, so that we can kind of just walk out and get to the water as quickly as possible. And we like to have the option to come in and, you know, and rest up. The sun can tire you out. And of course it has to be now, since we've had the dogs for the last few years. We've rescued the dogs, so they look, I think they look great. It has to be a pet friendly hotel. Though it's extra charges, usually an additional $50 or so. And so, you know, it's not a cheap thing, I'm sure, as you know. So even a day trip can run you $200-300. So we don't always make it out to the beach. And so I was thinking of what are the things that you still use even when you know, during the summer months. So tote bags and sunglasses and slippers or flip-flops and sandals, really is what I was thinking, sandals. And chapstick and sunblock, and still a good idea to use that stuff, especially depending on what part of the country you're at. Well, nowadays it seems like everybody's getting extreme heat, so it's always good to protect your skin from that harsh sun. Alright, so it looks like we've got these set up. I do need to take a look at this strength. It looks like there was a little bit of shifting. I was going to say, you have time to come back in and make an adjustment, but it does start, the glue, while it does give you time, it does start to set up, so you just want to make sure it's where it starts to set up after maybe about a minute. Alright, let me do a little bit of cleanup. We have a couple of fans going. I've got one pointed at me, and there are two fans here in the room that are on the floor, basically, so that they reach the dogs. And of course, instead of sitting right in front of the fans or directly in front of the fans or somewhere near the fans, they find a spot where there is no fan. And so there's Goldie still panting from her little journey outside. Alright, so time for some Mod Podge and some glitter. And it's been a little while. Well, not that long. I think it's maybe only been about a week since I used the Mod Podge. So what I'm doing is cleaning off this gunk that's on the top. Just cleaned up, now I have to clean up again. Alrighty, and now I'm thinking of how are we going to get the Mod Podge on the stirs. And I think we're going to use one of my older paint brushes. I have a hard time throwing them away. I just have this thing that, and I try to come in. I try and come in and use what I have. Like this one isn't in the best condition. First of all, sometimes I get cheap brushes from Hobby Lobby or Walmart or the dollar store, and with the intention of using them for little projects like this. You know, this one is probably a little too wide, and sometimes this one should be good. The bristles are pretty stiff. Sometimes you can clean them up and reuse them, and sometimes they're going to stiffen up, and so you're going to have to toss them. So especially when you use them for things that are not paint. So we're going to come into the Mod Podge. You know what, I better, before I continue with this, I am going to set up a little area, because we're going to be using glitter. So and you need to work relatively quickly. I guess I should get the glitter ready. I know I have it here somewhere. And I labeled it with, these are just one of those deli containers with used glitter, meaning that I have used the glitter at some point on another project, and it's the glitter that falls away. So you can see it really looks white. So, and you can totally use glue if you want, but I like how the Mod Podge dries up clear. And it does a really good job of capturing the, it's not coming through. It looks pretty. I don't think it's coming through as nicely as I would like for you to be able to see. But I think you can see a little bit of shimmer. But it does look nice. And I do like to take a brush, and that one that I had pulled out, I don't think I finished my point that I was making. I keep old brushes, even though they're not in the best shape, and some of the cheap brushes for things like this, to use to, for example, feather away some of the excess, because there's a chance that you won't be able to wash any of the gunk, whatever it is that you happen to be using. There's a chance you won't be able to get rid of it off of the brush, I mean, or wash it off of the brush. And if that's the case, you don't want to ruin a good brush by doing that. So back in we go. And now we're going to do the beach umbrella. And I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to do the whole thing, the little overlay too. And if you're worried about the glitter coming off, then you can always spray paint it with a clear coat, and it'll help to lock it in. and keep it in place so you don't have to worry. I think you can see a little bit of the shimmer. So I'm going to take the little brush, little duster. I really should be waiting to do this dusting until after it dries a little bit, because that Mod Podge is still wet on the sides. So I'll do that. Gonna get that glitter back in here. And I have a couple of these containers with used glitter. Yeah, glitter's expensive. Well, everything is, right? And nowadays. So I just am not one to waste it. It's still perfectly good glitter. Sometimes you might find clumps and stuff, but they're big enough that you can usually just pull them out and throw them away. Little tropical drink. Oh, I totally forgot that I was going to paint that straw. We're just going to go for it. The raw wood. Tell you what, I'm excited about trying out a blue hurricane. Now talking about the summer and the beach. Since it is, you know, the beach is always one of those attractions during the summer that people flock to. And I really like to go when there aren't very many crowds. It gets crazy down here for spring break, so that's definitely a time you want to avoid going, or that at least I want to avoid going. Even though they have summer concerts and they bring some popular artists down and stuff like that, it's just during college that was something we liked to do, but I'm just not there. I do like, they have usually a fireworks displays on the weekends, which is nice. But we made quick work of that. But you get to stay in the comfort of your own vehicle, and so I like that. I appreciate that. But since we've had the dogs, it's not something that we can go and do. We have to leave them at home, and then they know, they smell the beach on you. And they know you left them behind. Not understanding it was because they don't really like fireworks. Especially Blackie. Goldie has big floppy ears. She's a golden retriever. Yes, she has big floppy ears, so it doesn't seem to bother her as much. But Blackie is a healer, a blue healer, Australian cattle dog, and his ears are up above his head, pointed due north. And so he does not like loud noises. Thunderstorms and fireworks, no way, not for him. So it looks like we'll be able to salvage this one. just getting it in water, kind of working away some of that Mod Podge. It's good for that kind of thing. I have a special brush that I keep with my glitters, with the glitter gels and stuff, but this particular Mod Podge I just find something to use depending on the project, usually a foam brush. Alright, so we have, I need to do some cleanups around the decks here, but we have our drink stirs, and I think they look fabulous. And what I was mentioning was, if you're worried about some of what I'll do right now, I'm going to give it a little bit more time to dry up, and then I will come in with this brush that's dry and just run around the edges again to get off any excess pieces of glitter. So that'll help a little bit with the stuff that's not really stuck on there. But if you are worried about that and you don't want the glitter to flake off, then you can always come in with something like I have some here. You can come in with a clear spray, and it should lock it in so that you don't have to worry about that. Go ahead and do a test piece first, just to make sure that the look is something that you want. I've always used the Gloss Clear because it's a light coat, so I don't really worry too much about it, and this is Rust-Oleum brand. So if that's something that you want to try, go for it. I like to use the sealer if I'm going to be selling a piece to a customer, and for example, if I'm using something like a chalk transfer, or maybe something that's going to be possibly used like on a covered porch or something. That my pieces are never for outdoor use. So all right, I mean, I think they look so fantastic, so I'm hoping you give this one a try. And so it's part of the summer collection designed for the Apothecary Cabinet. If you have any questions, please send them my way. I'm Veronica. You can get me send me an email to thecraftyladder@gmail.com. And you can also reach me over on Facebook at The Crafty Ladder. I'd love to see how you design your collection for the summer, how you design your summer collection for the Apothecary Cabinet. So send your photos my way. You post them over on Facebook, and I'd love to share them with everyone. All right, thank you so much. We are moving on to the next in our series. And I think we're going to go ahead and go with the sun individual letters, because I'm just going to do the same kind of technique here with the that we used for the beach umbrella. So that we have that red to orange to yellow effect. Again, being guided by the color story that I used on this particular sign. All right, so we'll see you on the next session covering the individual letters that spell out the word sun for the summer collection in the Apothecary Cabinet. All right, thanks so much. Bye.